Hi, and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tuesday. I'm Tuesday, and I write fantasy fiction under the name Mary E. Twomey. I also write cozy mysteries under the name Molly Maple, and contemporary romance under Tuesday Embers. But my actual name is Tuesday, and today we're going to talk about my Mary E. Twomey book, because I'm going to read you the next chapter of Taste, which is book 1 of the 9-part Tearaway series. If you would like to read ahead, you can get the ebook probably for free, because it's free right now as of the recording of this video. If you don't want to read ahead, then I will read to you, because I enjoy spending time with you. Chapter 20, Honey and the Hut. Edward brought me the stick, and I scratched behind his ear. I tossed the toy again, clapping with numbed fingers for Edward when he found it in a matter of seconds. "Let's go before the Sigbin changes his mind," Langham ordered, and then turned to me with a note of wonder in his tone. "Are you really matriculan?" "Dude, I've got no idea what that means, but Danny seems to think I am." Vaughn nodded toward Edward. "It's a creature who can reason with animals. If you were a male, you'd also be able to shapeshift. Your bones are stronger too. Lots of perks." "Ah, of course," I said in all my sage wisdom. "I mean, it's an abused animal. They recognize if you're not there to hurt them." I'd learned it was generally the same with inmates I worked with. "I've got one more thing to show you." Langham turned on his heel and stomped toward the huts. I muted my internal groan and fought through the pull gravity had on my limbs, forcing a smile at Edward, who whined in concern. My lungs barely constricted as I walked on clumsy legs. I didn't resist Vaughn when he offered his elbow to hold on to. I needed it to stay upright. Lang led us for 2 minutes through the mangled forest to a more sizable hut in a small clearing. The waning suns left little illumination as we entered into the one-room home after him. I was grateful not to use up my oxygen with the brisk walk anymore. "Sit," I ordered Edward, holding my hand up flat until he obeyed. He tucked his shorter hind legs beneath his body and waggled his mangled long tail behind him. He ground the top of his head into my hip to show me that he loved me. "I love you too, Edward. Wait here, okay?" Then I dragged my feet into the hut behind Vaughn and shut the door. "Langham!" a thin, older woman shrieked. "Son, what's wrong? Why were you gone so long? Is this the girl? Is this the omen?" The woman's white hair flowed freely about her shoulders in beautiful, soft waves, cascading forward as she knelt in front of me. I always thought women with white hair were beautiful, and she was no exception. Her brown skin made her hair all the whiter, so that it almost appeared to be glowing. I leaned heavy on Vaughn again, my oxygen getting too low for comfort. No, get up, please," Vaughn whispered. "This is what she should do, love. Let her pay you the proper respect." "I'll not have an old woman on her knees," I protested, bending down to help her up. I nearly fell myself, but managed to get us both to stand. "Please don't kneel. I haven't done anything actually worth the fuss." Her voice was gentle. "Oh, but my Langham promised to bring hope back to the people, and he brought us you." I shook my head, cursing as my knees buckled. My adrenaline ebbed, and the muted oxygen inside the hut pressed down on my chest like a weight. "Whoa, easy there." Vaughn caught me before I hit the mud floor and held me upright like a rag doll. "I have to go back home. I can't breathe down here." "Take a break." Vaughn pulled out a chair and lowered me into it as if I were as fragile as the old woman. My butt was covered in mud and squished on the seat, making me grimace. I felt breakable, and for all his knife-wielding, Vaughn's hands were careful with me. The bark of his voice was a sharp juxtaposition. "Langham, what's your plan? Suffocate her so all your people die? So you die? Do you even have any baga root?" Lang's neck seemed to shrink into his shoulders as he lowered his head in chagrin. "Right, I forgot she's part human." "Typical Sakuna royalty," Vaughn scoffed. "Take what you want without researching a thing. Humans die in 20 minutes down here without the baga root. She's only lasting longer, maybe because she's not a pure human. But you should have been on top of this if you were bent on abducting her." "Then we have plenty of time. This is important." More important than oxygen? Vaughn asked, irate. Langham ignored Vaughn and helped the woman sit in one of the chairs at the small round table. This is Gerda. She raised me when my father's ways were too one-sided for me to follow. Behind closed doors, Langham's tensed shoulders and superior tilt to his chin began to relax. He sat down in the sturdy oak chair across the table from me, and Vaughn took the chair to my right, leaning back in it with his arms crossed over his chest in a try-me, punk kind of way. I felt like a dummy, being the only one in the group who had trouble breathing. Langham addressed only me, treating Vaughn's seat as if it was empty. My father is growing desperate. We've run out of food to sustain our people. Sama's offered us rations, but any gift from Sama comes at a heavy price. I don't know who the flip Sama is. Lang reared back, looking up at Vaughn incredulously. Does she know nothing? Come closer and say that, I dared, but there was no way I could even stand on my own at this point, let alone take on a grown man. Vaughn snapped his fingers twice. Move along! Lang met my eyes, talking with his hand flat and perpendicular to the table. The men and women aren't able to work as hard as they need to in the fields or at the mills because they're starving. If things don't change soon, Father's going to cut down the weak ones so the food supply's not so diluted. You mean like population control? I asked, disgusted. Langham nodded. His plan is to start by forcing the pregnant women to swallow the patayan root. Are you serious? Vaughn gasped and then translated for me. The patayan root can kill a fetus inside a minute. He's basically forcing all the pregnant women to give up their babies. Well, that's just going to start an uprising, I ruled, pulling on my knowledge of harsh dictators and their downfalls. I looked around the hut that was basically a wood box. You can't do this and expect things to get better. Langham looked impressed and grateful that he didn't have to spell the inevitable conclusion out for me. That's right. I've tried reasoning with him, but my brother and sister are louder than I am. It won't stop there, Lady October. He watched my labored breathing and tossed up his hands like he was throwing two frisbees he was pissed at. I'm sorry, okay? I forgot humans don't do well here. My eyebrows hitched as I tried to maintain some semblance of control. Are you raising your voice at me? I don't think you want to do that. Not if you want me cooperative. Honestly, who taught you politics? I'll make it short. Fetuses are the start. Next will be the children under the age of 2. Then the prisoners. Then the elderly. He shook his head, his too large hand resting on Gerda's frail one. I can't have it. I don't care if you like me or not. I don't care if you feel like being an omen. It's who you are, and Lady Marianne cannot sustain the world on her own. You have to help her or the children die. I was distraught, my anger melting to confusion as I started to panic. Don't put this on me. I didn't even know about any of this before yesterday. Langham pounded his fist to the oak table. You know now. You're the only weapon I have. You and Lady Marianne can save my people in ways that I can't. Gerda quieted Langham's fury with a slight lift of her index finger. Honey, you'll not shout at the poor girl. It was almost comical that the frail old woman called the forbidding man honey. I expected him to bellow back something about her insubordination or some flipped-up nonsense, but instead he quieted. I brought you here so you could see how needed you are, how long we've waited for this, and how many lives depend on you taking up your mantle. Okay, I saw it. I gripped the mantle, the tingling in my fingers traveling up to my wrists. I tried to take in a full breath, but I could only suck down less than half a lung full. I'll take you and your Reaper back to Ezra. Just know that soon they'll force the women to give up their children. So whatever learning curve you're hoping for, it doesn't exist. Got it. Don't you... I struggled for breath, staring him down as I slowly suffocated. Don't you ever abduct me again. I'll mess you up if you... My vision started to tunnel, and before I knew it, I was being swept out of my chair and up into Vaughn's lean but muscular arms. For all my fight, I was a toy, limp and wallowing in my humiliation. Bruce Campbell would have never let a man carry him like he was a child. Langham, take her home this instant, young man. You'll start a war with King Ezra if you bring her back damaged. Gerda was on her feet, cooing over me like I'd seen mothers do on television. She had a kind smile like Mrs. Brady. My hazel eyes met her black ones, searching for that maternal loveliness to calm me. They shone with unfettered affection that nearly made me break down in Vaughn's arms. It's okay, sweetheart. My boy will take you home. Now, mind what you saw here, all right? And don't be afraid of Langham. He's a good boy. He just gets upset when his people are threatened. She ran her cracked and filthy hands through my hair, and I wanted to plead with her to just get me out of here, but I'd lost my words. I was beginning to lose my grip on lucidity when Langham gripped Vaughn's shoulders and wrapped his other hand around my back to help him support my weight. It was almost a hug, but couldn't have been since he was such a jerk butt. Vaughn clutched Langham's arms so we could all Shazam out of there together. The sucking sensation pulled my bones upward like the worst kind of gravitron at the county fair, ripping Mrs. Brady's soothing voice away from me. That is the end of chapter 20. We are making pretty decent progress. Every Tuesday I will read you a new chapter from the book until we finish the whole thing. If you want to read a book that I've already read the entire thing to you before, and they're already recorded, and you just want to read it all at one sitting, Savage Hearts is the first book I've read to you guys. This is the second one that I've read to you guys. And we are look at that. We are about halfway through. I cannot believe that. I'm really proud of us. I will see you next week for the next chapter on Tuesdays with Tuesday.